Hello and welcome to round 2 of the FRS here for season 3. We are here for PC Division 3 and we are at the tract of Spain, and that's about all I'll say about it. I am joined by Mark Hopkins. How are you, Mark?
Yeah, doing good, thanks. Had a bit of a tough time in Div 2 on this track, and I want to kind of forget it, but I would love to revel in others' misfortune as well. So I'm here to commentate over Division 3.
Wow, that is very kind. My race didn't go very well either, but I had the pleasure of commenting over one on a Friday night, which had an incredible end. If you've not seen it, please go to twitch.tv/FR series and check out the clips from the end of that race. It was incredible. Of course, we're here for round 2, which means we had round 1 just go, or a week ago, I should say. And that means that we have get the graphic up properly. There we go. These are the current standings for PC Division 2, PC Division 3, I should say. So the Renault's doing very well last week out. Air Jordan win and fastest lap, and Rekka 4. But Addy Man, ever a fan favourite in chat, um, also with a very solid performance.
Yeah, Addyman and Cooney Skittles looked like they were going to be battling for the win, but I believe, if memory serves, they both got a penalty, and then Air Jordan kind of came up from behind and in the end actually took the lead on pace. That was really impressive from himself. Rekka, slightly behind, was a bit off the pace, couldn't really compete with the others, but we did learn afterwards that he did have front wing damage. So it's a new track, it's a completely different track, but we'll see. I guess it's a completely different set of skills they'll need for this one. Renault's, you can see, top of the world constructors standings.
Absolutely, and that will mean a lot for them in terms of the teams championship, which we have in FRS for this season, which goes across all 13 divisions, I believe we have right now. Across all 13 divisions, the total scores from every driver will be added up and added to the teams championship. And as the season progresses, we'll have updates on who's at the top of that standings and who maybe can improve slightly. It looks like the qualifying session is about to get underway, and I'll throw it there just in one quick second. But before I do that, I will give a Twitch shout out to some of the drivers here today who may be streaming their point of view. So if you want to have a more direct look at and all the goings on around this track, and there's the link. And with that out of the way, into the qualifying session. Cars are starting to come out on track as we speak.
Yeah, so Lord Volk, first one out on the well, actually, Lazo was the first one out on track, but then he stopped. Now the two AlphaTauris are quite close to each other. I don't know if they're planning on running that way to give each other a tow, but it will be Lord Volk that will do the first flying lap, as it were, coming up to the infamous third sector of this Spanish track. A lot of people don't like it. A lot of people in particular don't like the chicane that he will be coming through now. Very slow during the race, caused a massive concertina effect, and it actually means that even though you've got a really long straight here, it is quite difficult to overtake. Now, it looks like he's out of ERS. I think he might have forgotten to turn off ERS for the out lap, so he starts the lap on about 50%, which is a little bit disappointing for himself, and that's not really going to help out. Hamlin, interestingly, he's in the pits, but he's got medium tyres selected, and one goal as well, looking like he might do a lap on mediums. Maybe it's just a banker.
Absolutely, that is something that a lot of these drivers will be considering here, because the soft tyres do seem to melt around this track very quickly. And so if you start on that tyre, you have to stretch to a very difficult soft hard, which is lower than starting on the same strategy as Lord
Oh,
Volk actually has an incident. It's run round. Gotta be careful actually disqualified if he keeps driving backwards, and there we go. There's a little flick spin going the right way, but those tyres are very toasty right now, I think. AlphaTauri passed. So that's first lap not quite going so well. I've quite a few cars now out on track looking on board. Lazo for this third sector, we just saw him go past there. The 50.2 sector. Yeah, fairly solid banker lap to set a mark here. I noticed, by the way, that I was going to mention that the AlphaTauri stood dip a toe to each other, but also Cooney Skittles was right in front of Lazo, and they are both very good friends. They could have a little inter-team tow, but Cooney actually pulled back into the pits after the outlap. So that is currently the two AlphaTauris, the only cars set times. Had the fastest two, but then Gali jumps them both with that impressive time as the laps keep rolling in. Echo nets back across the line and off to P3. After a solid fourth place finish last time out, from showing here in Spain.
Yeah, we've got the McLaren of Turkey coming around now. Had a little bit of a disappointing one last time. Kind of got taken out right from the start. A bit of a mistake from the car in front of him, and yeah, a bit disappointing. So hopefully it looks like he's actually on his flying lap now. Sorry about that, I misspoke.
What I'm going to watch
But
here
yeah,
is the Wondol, who's around the final chicane now, on medium tyre, deciding to go for this early strategy. And Fuji is actually out of the race right now. It seems to have had an incident and is retired, so that's great for the Alfa Romeo team. Wondol on the mediums, slots into last orbital times. That is, I suppose, what you'd expect on the mediums, possibly. That is just him setting a banker and entering on softs, but it's definitely not the sort of time that you'd be happy with qualifying here in Division 3.
yeah, you're going to want to qualify on the softs, and if you really want to start on mediums, then just kind of aim not to go too fast and qualify about 11th. I think qualifying on the mediums is just going to put him at a massive disadvantage because he'll end up probably in last place of all the people that actually set a valid lap time.
Yeah,
There's a very tricky track around Spain. There's a lot of places where it's very easy to lose the rear end. One of them is just here on track. There's a bit of a bump there, and if you go over it too hard, not paying too much attention, maybe you can really spin the car either way. As we watch the Racing Point coming around the final corner now, Andrew Orthodox had an okay race last time, crosses the line, and he's got second.
wow. I mean, the reason I went on board with him here is I noticed that he'd already done one lap on the tyres and was quite low on ERS. So then he invalidated his first lap, decided to go for a second one, and has set a very strong time. I think the only thing that he'll have to worry about here is that he didn't want to necessarily start the race on those tyres because they've already done a fair amount of running here. So we're to improve that later in the session if possible. A very strong showing early on in the session from Andrew Orthodox.
Yeah, so you see on board with Cooney Skittles here.
Oh!
Oh, and that's the other place where you can really lose it. Coming around that right-hander, and if you just don't have the rear downforce that you need, the back end just steps away, and it's so easy to do that with so many different setups. And that's obviously what's happened to him. So you'll probably want to. He looks like he's still going for it, so you might as well set a banker.
I suppose if you keep putting it there, you can sometimes not use too much time. That will definitely lose time though. And so this might just be to get a time on board. It's not particularly fast. It does still slot into P12. So clearly that aggressive approach through the middle sector has paid off a little bit. It's clearly going fast enough to make just an error like that, but still, Juice expecting to be qualifying a bit better than P12 here.
Yeah, overall that probably cost him about 2 seconds, so it would have been a sort of mid-15 you're probably looking at there from someone like him. Air Jordan has gone fourth in that time, so he's 4 tenths off the pole position time. But we know his race pace is absolutely fantastic, so if you can go through this race without getting any penalties, you could be in for a really good one. Oh, and there's a McLaren.
Oh!
One of the McLarens, Lord Volk. Again, same corner as Cooney Skittles, just he wasn't able to hold it, and he's gone straight into the wall, smashed up a wheel, and he is out of qualifying, not having set a time.
I mean, we saw an incident like that happen in the Division 1 qualifying, so it's definitely an easy mistake to make, but definitely not ideal as Hamlin. Oh, actually
Oh,
does the
Hamlin does the same,
same!
and he's out as well. Oh,
And I'm pretty sure his lap was invalidated there as well. Like, I went on board for that. I was about to switch away because his map was red. Then crashes pretty much into the McLaren of Lord Volk after hitting the wall there. And early on in this qualifying session, a lot of mistakes being made that are costing people any chance at a time.
yeah, that's the real danger around this track. It's just trying to keep it all together. I mean, it's very easy to get penalties, sort of cut track penalties. It's very easy as well to bin it in the wall. We see a Williams somewhere on track. It's going quite slowly. I don't know if he's just letting someone past. So we've got a couple of people out on track. I think Gali is out. He is doing a fast lap, as far as I'm aware, and he's just looking to increase the gap to second place as Knack Track has gone pole.
Oh wow, very impressive time from the Alfa Romeo. I believe that tried to have a slight incident earlier in the session, or am I thinking of his teammate there, who obviously is now out of the race.
Well, interesting to note that Gali has gone 0.25 seconds up in his first two sectors, so he's coming around the last corner now. It should be very close to what Knack Track has done as he comes around the very slow last chicane. Just get on the power, don't go too wide, keep it quite close to the line, and then across he goes.
Oh, and that is
And he's pole
pole
position
by less than
and
a hundredth of a second.
whew,
And you can see the competition in Division 3 is already ramping up substantially. One driver I have my eye on right now is it's Addyman, who's currently in the pits. The reason I haven't my eye on him is because he is on the medium compound, just sat there waiting for a chance. There's also the former Division 4 driver of Massimo Romeo. It's
and
fantastic.
Addyman is out of the pits now on medium tyres.
There
I'm
we
not
go.
sure how good a strategy call that is. I suppose, you know, if he's aiming for setting about a 1:15.5 and then the medium tyres are about a second slower, he could be doing a 1:16.5 maybe, and that would put him technically in the top 10, but being able to start on medium tyres could be quite an advantage for him.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's his teammate just flying past, having gone P4 right now. He's actually up half a tenth through the first set, so might be on a hot trying to improve this time. See how this plays out. By the end of the lap, I think we have the teammate of the current pole just coming across the line, and that was not a hot lap. That was possibly an out lap now. The invalidation. Now once again.
Yeah, in terms of people coming round, we've got Turkey. He looks like he is on a flying lap, coming around the final corner now to cross the line. Interesting that he takes quite a wide line, the more conventional racing line. It doesn't look like he has improved, unless that
Oh,
was just an out lap.
I saw someone stopped on the track there. I think that's Addyman just letting people past going to the third sector. But I got a little bit nervous there, thinking there was an incident that happened. And actually ahead it looks like a little bit of traffic
Oh, he's
getting caught
stopping it
up
on
here, and he
track.
stopped again. Getting out of the way of
I
yeah,
mean, it's
that's
a fair enough thing to do, but it's not going to help his tyre temperatures out very much. He's on medium tyres, which are, you know, they don't retain their heat as well as the soft tyres anyway, so getting heat back into them might be a little bit difficult. So
I
we'll see
mean
how the first half of this lap pans out.
I think the first half of this lap is going to be the perfect thing to get heat back into those tyres, because this circuit does just seem to have melted. As soon as you look at them gone. So I think he might be okay here, but look at the first few corners, see if he's have enough grip to navigate this at speed. It looks like he's taking a little bit of a wide line. Could then got a little bit out there, but it's be okay. Rounds on the first sector. We're not going to have too much house in here because, of course, our advantage time is a 21.3, and that's the mini says that's a purple first sector. If that is the case, then anyone's performance on these medium tyres is simply fantastic.
Well, we'll have to kind of wait and see about that, because I think we all know that the game sometimes tells you you've got a purple sector and you're out there on sort of hard tyres and almost a full fuel load. So we'll wait for the
Oh, and that's
official
an
verdict.
invalidation, and
Oh,
that's
and he's
worse. He's going to the wall, and he's out of the session. Oh, what a disaster for Addyman here. After such a strong opening to the lap, just a little bit wide, and I think in trying to correct and not to go into the ball on the right hand side has just gone completely the opposite direction. Is now out of the session.
Yeah, he had third place last race. He had a good chance today, you would imagine. He's starting now from 18th place. It's going to be really difficult for him, and we'll have to see if he's able to do anything from the back. Maybe an alternate strategy. It looks like he was trying to do one in qualifying anyway, so maybe it doesn't hurt him too much.
Yeah, absolutely. Of course, if you can start on the mediums, the one stop is so much more viable. You can go medium to hard, whereas start on the soft, the fastest strategy is honestly pretty close between us. That track, off by less than a hole, invalidates through turn 8, but manages to keep the car on the track, thankfully.
And
I
we've
should
got
say.
Cooney Skittles coming around the final chicane now. He will be starting another lap. He's on the medium tyres. I don't think he's probably going to be able to improve that much. Certainly not going to be anywhere near where he wants to be, which is up there right at the top. But maybe the alternate strategy will work for him as we've got a little bit of traffic coming out. And he just send it into turn 1, hook the wheel round the curb, doesn't quite, runs a little bit wide, and then he just hugged this line all the way around the corner and just take the absolute shortest possible route. Heavy braking, turn in, let the car drift out wide, which he has not done. And then there's a lot of places here where it's very difficult to run a little bit wide and pick up a track penalty. He's coming through one of the notorious corners there, a little bit of sliding as we come to what has been the absolute killer so far. Maybe had to lift a little bit for that one just to be extra safe. And then a hard braking zone down to first gear, just quickly back up to second. And he comes through again, a very tricky corner to come round into the last chicane here. He's gone a bit wide there, doesn't quite invalidate, but it's not going to help him at all. And this part here just feels like when you're driving, takes an absolute age to get round and then come around the final corner. And again, he goes very wide. Not the ideal racing line, and he's 10th.
Yeah, and the mark to beat currently on the medium tyres is from the Ferrari of Massimo Romeo, a Division 4 graduate after qualifying on pole by half a second in the rain and winning by 30 seconds. A fantastic show. Got him moved up to Div, being already showing that his pace is there with the front runners in here, even on the medium tyres, able to qualify in P4 right now. Well, there's still time for the likes of Gali to respond. Only up a tenth and a half. Second set, let's see if almost invalidated there, coming through turns 10 and 11. Looks like the lap is still on. And that, again, a little bit wide, but the game isn't going to take it from him. Avoid these curbs through the final chicane, they can really trip you a little bit too hard as Gali does hood quite tight there on the final corner across the line, and it will be an improvement of half a tenth. Lost a little bit of time in that final sector, but still enough to improve the mark for pole, and now it's up to Track and Andrew Orthodox to see what they can do.
Yeah, Track's invalidated at the moment. He's on an out lap, though.
And
I'm not
Max is
sure what all
actually
of that means,
coming
but
out on those same set of mediums that he went P4 in. See if there can be a bit of improvement there.
and Track does come across now to start his flying lap. So it'll probably be these two guys. They've kind of traded a little bit here and there over pole position, and we'll see if Track can do anything to take out. He needs about 6/10, and he has invalidated already.
Oh
So that's
dear.
difficult for him, but he is still P2.
There might just about be enough time to get round if he's gonna have to put the engine in quite high mode to make it back to the line before the checkered flag. And of course, starting on those tyres might not be ideal for him. But if he does want to have another shot at this, there'll be just enough time to settle that. Meanwhile, we'll go on Andrew Orthodox, who is currently rounding the final chicane, about to start final attempt at a lap here. It's a long start-finish straight. You open up the DRS and put your foot down and let's go to sleep. You gotta be careful because the first corners are so quick. You gotta nail the line. Want to invalidate. And Lusty's on quite wide there, took the gravel and has invalidated on the outside of turn 2. And he won't have time to get around. And Stodds, as we're talking, actually gets on pole position with a 115.087. What a fantastic time. See if
Yeah, it was
Mass.
a little bit quiet in the first race. Didn't see too much of him, um, but that is a really good lap time. So he's obviously bounced back for this track. And yeah, wow, there's not too many guys that will be able to set a lap like that around here. As we're just watching Massi Moromio, I'm just going to call
Massimo
him
Romeo.
Massi.
It's a difficult one to
Ah,
get your head around.
well,
There's a nice rhythm to it once you get it. I say
he's
Mass.
well, Massi's gone a little bit quicker in the first sector. He's about a tenth up, so he looks like he'll be jumping maybe up into fourth, potentially up into third for this race. And
Uh,
if he's doing that on the medium tires, that'd be really impressive. In
yeah,
fact, he's been moved up already. Might need to get moved up even further if he can set these kind of times on medium tires. Might be looking at Division Two as he comes
possibly.
across the line,
And it's
and
is a
he,
slight improvement, but actually not enough to gain a position here. And with Stodds making that jump into pole position, which actually will stand, Massa will start from the third row of the grid, but of course on those medium tyres. One of only two drivers to actually qualify on the mediums, and both of them are in the top 10. So definitely a good decision made by both of those to ignore the mediums and opt for the more impressive race strategy. But that will be the end of the qualifying session unless Turkey has anything to say. It doesn't look like that lap was anything twitch. So, the order for this session. Stodds takes pole position from Gali, Nattrack and Andrew Orthodox all on the softs, in the first two rows. Then we have Mass, who has qualified on the mediums, starts P5 ahead of Air Jordan, Aryan, Becker, Velociraptor and Cooney Fiddles round out the top 10 also on the mediums. The four cars behind, as well as the 5 DNFs that we had in this session, will all have free choice of tyre and into the race session. You
yeah,
have
that
to,
medium to hard is a really great strategy, and I think it will really help out for Massey starting P5. Um, Everyone outside the top 10 will start probably on medium tyres, I would imagine, including 10th place himself, Cooney Skiddles.
yeah, absolutely. So there we have the rest of the order: Lamb Chop, Turkey, the One Goal, and Baron all setting times, as well as did I miss someone? Oh, I missed Lazo as well. I apologise. Then Hamlin, Futi, Animan, and Lord Vold all failing to set a time in that session. We'll have a lot of ground to make up in this race. So, welcome back. We are about to get our race session underway, and after that qualifying performance, I think there's a lot to look forward to in this race. It'll be a race of high attrition, given how turn 19 to go for a lot of our drivers here today.
Yeah, we've got four people that were out in qualifying. I don't think any of them set a valid lap time. And yeah, it could be quite tricky in the race. Obviously, you can spin out there, sure, but if you collect someone else, it can be quite a pile up as they start now their formation laps. Stoggs will lead them around the track, and he's got Garley behind, Knack Track, Andrew Orthodox, all on the soft tires. And then after about 5, 6 laps, I think the medium tires will probably take over, and that's when we'll see Massey maybe making some moves on these guys.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's probably after 3 or 4 laps where the softs really lose their shine and sort of limping them round to the pit stop phase where you can get on a fresh set of boots and either go for a decent amount of time or possibly until the end if you want to go from softs directly onto the hards. As you can see, the game recommended a two-stop strategy quite strongly here. I think it's difficult to disagree with, although it might not be completely optimal. Definitely the one
Yeah,
to
I
watch
mean,
out for here is Mass, who will be starting on the mediums in P5.
on those on these 50% races, two stop is very, very rarely a good call. So soft to hard, for those that have qualified on the soft tyres and there's a little bit of life taken out of them, you're looking at about lap 10. I think lap 8 is probably the earliest you really want to go, otherwise those hard tyres are going to be quite worn out towards the end. For those starting on mediums, you're looking about lap 14. And again, with the mediums, you've got a little bit more leeway. You can obviously pit as early as lap 10. Should be fine. You can run a couple laps.
One driver I have to notice is that the one goal outside the top 10 is the only driver who's gone for the hard tyre instead of the mediums. Everyone that had a free choice. Is that maybe to just misalign from his teammate in case they might need to double stack at any point?
Yeah, I think you might as well do the absolute opposite. And then if there's a safety car at the optimal point, then you've obviously got a free pit stop. So it could work out for him, could not, but it's worth taking the risk from starting down in 14th as the final cars uh, pull up the boxes now.
Absolutely, and we're about to get this race underway. Don't go anywhere. We have 33 laps of Spain ready for you here as the lights start to go on. 3 lights, 4 lights, 5 lights. And it is lights out and away we go. Quite a long hold for our drivers there. And it looks like Stodd's got a pretty decent start. Garley maybe going to be under pressure from that track here as Mastodon to 4th place already. Good start on those medium tyres on the outside line. Dodds does hold the position. Galley stays in P2, but Natchat
Oh,
actually
Natchat's
gets
gone
a bit of a
sideways.
slide. And he's managed to recover it, but he's going to be way down the field here. And we have a retirement further back. Aryan has gone into the wall at turn 2, and a safety car is called already.
Well, that's going to be a bit of an odd one. Actually, kind of helps out the soft runners a little bit because you've got essentially 3 laps or 3 or 4 laps behind the safety car, where you're not really using your tyres up too much. So that will help extend the life, make that soft medium or soft to hard rather a little bit more bearable. We've got Wrecker who has picked up a penalty, presumably for contact. It looks like Nat Track is in front of him, so it might have been contact with Knack that's given him that penalty. And Massey, really good start off the line. He managed to get past and through orthodox, and then he just kind of held his breath going through turn 2, made no contact with Knack, and got himself up into third position, which is really strong. And importantly for him, he's got a couple of laps now where the soft runners aren't going to sort of race away from him. So I wonder if that will help him out a little bit.
Do you think that some of these soft runners might decide to try and go for essentially a medium strategy here if they can stop now and drop to the back of the field, or if they have the chance to ignore using the soft tyres at all? It's actually it's one goal. Got on the hard who's decided to be the only driver making a stop right now, other than Lord Fulch, who I think got caught in the instant that took Aryan out of the race. It seems like all these drivers are still looking to keep the tyres they started on as the safety car pits up the queue and Stodds hands over first place in this race to Bert Mylander.
Yeah, I think it would have been a really good strategy call for the one goal if he'd started on soft or medium tyres to go into the pits, go on hard tyres, see if he can push him to the end of the race. Unfortunately, because he started on hard tyres, he will have to go to something else. He has gone on softs. Wonder if he might think he can go all the way around, pit again for hards, for the same hard tyres, and see if he can do essentially the whole race on one set. Him going on to soft now isn't definitely not going to help him out.
I mean, it's a good idea in theory, and I think around a lot of tracks it might be a good call. But the problem is that even the hard tyres, which are the hardest compound in Pirelli's range, they still struggle to do more than 20, 25 laps around this track. So extending them for 30 plus, as even though there has been a safety car, it would still be tricky for the Ferrari of the one goal.
It is definitely possible. You will be getting really fairly deep into puncture territory, but you can definitely do it. And I've seen a couple of practice races where people have gone essentially 30 laps on hard tyres. I can't imagine it's too much fun, but it is certainly a possibility. Whether he'll try it, I'm not too sure. but going on to soft tyres now, I don't know if that's the right call for the 1 goal.
Yeah,
Of
I'm
course,
surprised he's
if
gone to the softer than 1 penalty.
if he did have damage, then that might explain it.
Yeah, but at that point, I'm thinking maybe trying to go for a medium, or possibly just putting a set of mediums on and then coming back to the hards later in the race could be an option. They'd not to be that worn. Maybe he didn't know that he can possibly reuse tyres that you've already used earlier on in the race. I know it's not something that happens often in conventional strategies, so it might just be a bit of a little bit of a slip up in not really knowing the exact rules of the Pirelli tyres, which are quite complicated, I will admit. But as it stands, he's going to be on the softs at the back of the field. Could possibly get a bit of a slice through the runners ahead on mediums, but only for a few laps, really.
Yeah, we've got Lord Volk down in last place. He is on hard tyres. I wonder if he might think to do this whole race on that set. It could be interesting to watch, um, or maybe he will put for soft tyres at some point, and see if he can maybe snatch the fastest lap as well in his strategy.
Yeah, absolutely. And if that does happen, for those of you watching along at home wanting to play tyre bingo, it's the front left around Spain is the tyre to watch. That takes a lot more wear than the rest of the tyres, and big problem as the safety car has pulled away from the pack and will be heading in at the end of this lap. And now Stodds retakes the lead of this race and bunches the pack up, gives Burt Malander a chance to get the safety car back into the pits. At the end of lap 3, we'll be green again, and we'll see how Massey can get on a restart on those medium tyres now.
Yeah, he's going to be very racy behind these guys. Stoggs, he's not backed up the
Oh,
pack that much.
Charlie actually almost making contact there. Now, as
And
we
they
come out the
go
final
around
corner,
now.
they bolt.
Oh, it's a really bad exit for Massey, and he's slid slightly coming through the chicane. He slid again in the final corner, and he's backed off quite a lot. But fortunately for him, Andrew Orthodox is not really anywhere near him and uh, cannot take advantage of that, as he goes quite deep actually into turn 1 and then hits the gravel on the outside. But he does just about make it. And we've got the Velociraptor behind, who might be looking to make a move on him. He's just not
Hitting the
quite
inside
close
line,
enough, I
Andrew's
think.
going a bit wide there. Nice to keep it off the gravel, but possibly a bit of time. A puff of smoke, and yeah, Velociraptor all over the gearbox of Andrew Orthodox here. You've got to be careful coming through this section though. The dirt, yeah, is very destructive, and especially with how tricky turn 9 is. Actually, Stodds, from the lead of the race, has spun, and he's all the way back down the field. And so Garley takes the lead. And that is awful for Stodds here. He was just recovering, being overtaken by Adiman, is down to 16th place, and it looks like a good chunk of that front wing is gone. He'll have to pit at the end of this lap, surely. And what
Yeah,
a disaster for a race leader.
you can see how he's going through the corners, that he's got absolutely no grip, as he's running incredibly wide now, and Lord Volk makes his way through. It's really disappointing for him. He will think about going in and maybe slapping on the hard tyres though, going to the end perhaps. Oh, and that's such a shame for him. I was about to note that he was leading the race by over a second as he clatters into the pit wall, trying to come into the pits. That's what VTech Panda did, and that's not going to help him out anymore. But he's in the pits anyway, so he will be changing his front wing.
Absolutely. And at least the pit crew knew to expect a new front wing change. And onto the hard he goes, and I think now it's a little bit more like the ties to reach the end. I think London will still be hoping that it's possible for them both, but I think if anyone has a slightly better chance, it'll close stops here as the field round through the second sector. And once again, gotta be careful of the dirt. Yeah, here it looks like the front 5 all make it through without too much trouble. And I mean, in the race now, you're more likely to give it a little bit of a lift just to make sure you don't run too wide there, both to avoid a warning and to avoid smashing into that inside wall.
Yeah, and the front 5 have kind of pulled away now. Wrecker down in 6th place. He has got a 5-second penalty. We're not sure for what. He might be able to get that one removed depending on what it was exactly that happened. But he is slowly, well, he's fallen out now of DRS range. Might be able to just about snatch it at the end. I don't think he will. but he's front 5 as Nattrack is going past the Velociraptor.
Oh,
Oh, they
Velociraptor's
make a
going to
bit of
fight it through
contact there.
T1, but it looks like
Just looked like,
he may have had some position.
yeah, it just looked like the Velociraptor didn't want to concede position. Unfortunately, he kind of had to at that point. The whole car of Nattrack was past him. Got another yellow flag
And
in
that is the
sector
other
1.
Alpha Tauri. That's Lazo
Oh,
123. And as you can see, just seemed to catch the gravel there. I'm not sure if he's got damage now as well. Looks like, unfortunately, it's not the case. The Alpha Tauri pit crew will not be running out of front wings by the end of this race. But still, a disaster start for the Italian team.
one thing to note quickly is the Velociraptor's lost a little bit of time now on Nattrack. I don't know if that was the contact that's served him badly, but he's under pressure now from Wrecker, and maybe more potently, he's got Air Jordan down in 7th, who won the race last time, might be looking to come through and get back up to where he thinks he probably should be, which is fighting for potentially the lead of this race. Massey is very close actually to Gali as they come down the line. He's got full ERS on. He's got the DRS open. He's going to get this one done even before the braking zone. In fact, he's pulling away quite a bit. If he can get this car slowed down, he will take the lead, and he is on the optimum tyres now. So I think at this point, the medium tyres become quicker. Gali will just start losing time to him, and then we'll have to pit a little bit earlier for hard tyres, and probably find towards the end of the race that Massey, with his slightly newer, harder tyres, will just not be catchable or overtakeable.
Absolutely, and as you saw, with the aid of that DRS, we took a purple first sector on those medium tyres. Further down the field, Renault have done a little bit of a switch. Air Jordan has gotten past Wrecker, and should now be looking to attack Velociraptor ahead as Dodds on those hard tyres actually sets the fastest lap of the race right now, in a bit of clean air. We'll see if Mast can respond with the help of that DRS on the mediums. But the front 7 really broke a solid gap to the medium runners behind, and so it makes it all the more impressive that Mast is able to climb up through that field rather than fall to the back of it.
Yeah, he's obviously very quick, and we're watching that now as he's opened up more than DRS to Gali. So Gali 1.5 tenths, 1.5 seconds down. The Velociraptor is into the pits, and well, that is about as early as you can go into the pits for the hard tyres, as the game is telling us about a strategy that clearly doesn't work. Otherwise, it would have been used at least in the first top 2 divisions. And Air Jordan now has a little bit of clean air that he can catch up now to Nattrack without having to make an overtake.
And in fact, the Velociraptor has gone to the medium tyres, so we'll be opting for the 2-stop here, possibly hoping for a safety car later in the race to bunch the field up again. Starting P15 just ahead of the Wandol, who's on those old soft tyres, and it looks like the Haas is able to hold the position for now. While Nattrack and Andrew Orthox are nose to tail coming through this fast sweeper of turn 9. Nattrack keeps it there, has DRS open, but so does Andrew Orthox behind Gali. And it looks like they won't be able to make a position here. Andrew Orthox does become a penalty for possibly running wide. Turn 9 there is still under an immense amount of pressure behind.
Yeah, Nattrack really close to Andrew Orthodox here. Unfortunately, this chicane here does kind of slow them all up, and it does concertina them as they come round. There's another yellow flag, this time in sector 2. One of the Haas drivers is out. Gali is into the pits. Looks like the Haas driver, I think it's the Velociraptor. I think he's made a mistake in that corner, taking a trip through the gravel, as Nattrack is right up the back of Andrew Orthodox, but Andrew Orthodox did get DRS off of Gali as Gali came into the pits. So Gali and the Velociraptor both doing the undercut. Unfortunately, the Velociraptor's made a bit of a hash of it. He's not only made a mistake, but he's also put on the hard tyres, on the medium tyres.
Yeah,
So
Gali has gone for
Gali,
the hards. Wandol also back into the pits already after pitting so soft earlier. I don't think that was the right call. I've got to assume it'd have to be back on, and it's onto the wet tyres. I don't know whether that's just a mistake that's happened with Jeff there, or whether that is just Wandol really not enjoying how this race has gone so far and trying to make something happen, I suppose.
yeah, as a guy who accidentally slept on wet tyres on a dry track in the evaluation race, I can
Of
tell you
course.
that it is not fun doing a lap of a track like that. I wonder what kind of mistake he's made there. But yeah, it'll be quite difficult for him not to just rage quit this one as he comes round.
One thing I'm worried about as looks like Nacho has pulled into the pits here is I believe Ghosting is off in Division 3, and you've got to imagine that the other Ferrari will be catching that car at a substantial pace here. So hopefully that doesn't cause any problems to the pack behind as they start lap 10 here. Air Jordan and Rett are still pretty close. Air Jordan close to Andrew Alcox. Andrew Alcox now doesn't have the aid of DRS ahead, but will just still hold the position. They are really extending this soft stint.
And Ghali's coming down the straight. Knack Track is actually technically ahead of him, does have the inside line. And Knack Track has gotten past Ghali in the pit. So Ghali pitted a lap earlier than him, put on the hard tyres, but Knack Track has managed to get out in front of him. However, Knack is on the mediums, so maybe he is doing a two-stop as well. Well, I'm not sure about some of these strategy calls. I think maybe, you got the Div 1 race on the Friday. Maybe use that as a bit of a reference, but maybe they're just not able to hang on to their tyres.
Yeah, I mean the two-stop I think is definitely something that could work if you have a little bit of help from a late stoppage. We didn't have that in Division 1, so obviously the strategy didn't work out there, but in a race where there's already been a lot of trouble in qualifying especially, I think it's not out of the question that there could be something to an advantage as Andrew Alcox and Wrecker both pulling to the pits. Air Jordan stays out for an 11th lap on those softs that were already used in qualifying. So I think we definitely have to watch to make sure that that front left stays intact throughout this lap. But if he can do it, then that'll make it a lot easier to hold on the rest of this race as both of those other front runners hit onto the hard compound of tyre.
Yeah, he's definitely going to want to pit this lap for sure. I don't think he can really do any more than what he's doing at the moment as he locks up coming round the track. This does promote Cooney Skittles up into third, who has obviously not pitted, having started on the medium tyres. So he will be looking at about lap 14, lap 15, somewhere in that kind of region to pit. It's not a lot later than some of the soft runners. But Air Jordan will have much newer hard tyres than the guys a little bit further back. So Ghali's obviously done a couple of laps. Andrew Orthodox will have
Oh,
done
we have an
one more
incident,
lap.
and that is Lord Fulk, who's spun me through turn 7, and that is the track. Trying to make sure that Retro doesn't make any contact, and that is definitely better. He seems to have saved his front wing there, so carry on, but has fallen down the order. And we also have, I believe that's actually the Ferrari Rondol, now a lap down after 2 additional pit stops, letting some cars past, going into Sector 3. And now Air Jordan finally pulls into the pits. Goes
So
onto
we'll
the
have to
hard
see
compound
where.
tyre, and we'll run to the end of the race on those. We'd have to pass an 11-second gap now. Still needs to stop, but that is an incredible window to break
And Knack
out
Track
of.
is about to go 3 wide. He's got Addy Man on the. Oh, and they make contact! And they were always going to make contact
Oh,
there. And that was really quite stupid of them. That is Turkey, who's out of the race. Addy Man kind of. Well, I'm not sure if that was on the actual stream, but basically what happened is Knack Track tried to go in the middle of Addy Man on the right and Turkey on the left. They kind of squeezed him. Addy Man went from the right to the left, took out Turkey, and I think Addy Man must have suffered from some kind of wing damage. You can kind of see from his onboard, he's going very
yeah, Adiman
wide
is
there.
wounded. The advantage
Oh,
here is after starting on the mediums, this is about the time where you'd want to be pulling to the pits for a set of hard tyres, and with safety car being called, it is a good chance to do it, and
yeah,
especially with that
Massey's
front wing change, you're going to need it.
a lot of these guys. So the first 3 are going to get a free pit stop. This should put Massey back in the lead. We'll have to see what it does for Cooney Skittles. He might be able to. We've got someone lamb
Oh, and
chop
Lamb Chop has done
speeding
what
under the
I
safety
did
car.
yesterday. Possibly Jeff beat it in his ear, trying to tell him about the pit stop he needs to make. And yeah, that can happen.
Yeah,
It's not a good feeling, I'll tell you that right now.
classic schoolboy error there. As Massey does come out and retains the lead. Cooney Skittles behind now, so I'm not sure if he's dived into his pit box yet. I think he might have. I think he's He's coming out of the
Yeah,
pit
the
lane
Mercedes in the
now,
early pit box, but it looks like
and
Nathan
we've
is
got
going to hold the
Natrak
position as is Andrew
is in
Orthodox.
front,
Possibly.
and
Oh,
Cooney
that might be
Skittles. Oh,
enough. And it
well, they're
looks
kind of
like,
fighting for it. I think Cooney Skittles is out in third place now,
yeah, because the key
and
thing is the second safety car line, isn't it? It's where you actually exit the pit exit. If you're
yes,
leading at that point, then you are entitled to position. And so a bit of a race to the line, but it looks like Cooney Skittles has held on to P3 there. And the car behind was car behind? That um 390? 9P8?
yes, Fukunaga was also in the pits. Um, I'm not entirely sure where he was before, but he's in quite a good position now behind the two Renaults and Gali. So we'll have a look sort of where everyone is at the moment. Cooney Skittles obviously started on medium tyres. He's made a really good strategy call there, and a little bit of help from the safety car has put him into third, which will turn into second overall once Nattrack makes his second pit stop. I think Nattrack's made a bit of a mistake here in putting on the medium tyres, because now he is kind of out of position. We'll have to pit again. We'll probably end up right near the back. Um, Andrew Orthodox done quite well. Air Jordan Gali, one of the big losers from this one, started right at the front, and now he's down in sixth place. And I suppose that will be fifth after Nat pits, but he is on the oldest of the hard tyres around him.
Yeah, of course. And I think you have to say that Mass has driven a fantastic race so far, but that was a perfectly timed safety car to make that change onto the hard, keep the lead of the race. With the pace that he's shown already in this race, you'd have to think by far the favourite to take his second win in as many weeks in a second division in as many weeks. And maybe a couple of questions to Division Two call it. Wait and see.
Yeah, I think we'll have to actually see what he's like on the same tyres in terms of pace, because he's obviously been on the medium tyres versus the soft runners. Um, but we'll get to see now as him and Cooney Skittles will kind of battle out, and Knack Track will try and keep up with him on the mediums. We'll have to see how that goes as well.
And
And I do really feel for Gali. He tried the undercut, and I can't say I blame him, because I probably would have done something similar in his position. Maybe he went a little bit too early, but he's really in quite a bad position now. He's got, yeah, he's going to have to really keep those tyres alive towards the end, whilst some of the others behind him might be able to attack him.
yeah, and most of the field is currently on the line strategy now. Gali has the most wear of any of those. You have to think that maybe Stodds is not had to make another stop, but could be trying to make it all the way to the end of the race. And then in front, Nattrack just on the medium tyres right now, and Lord Vulture's on 11 lap old hards. Um, Again, I don't know if those are made to the end. Might be a stop for mediums or softs at the end of the race, possibly.
Well, the thing about Lord Volk's strategy right now is that because there's a safety car, he's not really taking anything out of his tyres. So this is just essentially for him 3 laps of free life for them, um, which does mean that I think it would be actually quite possible for him to make it to the end of the race. Um, will be struggling a little bit, but I think it should be okay. So unless Jeff convinces him otherwise, he probably should end up um, on this exact same set of tyres.
And after starting from very last spot on the grid after that early retirement in qualifying, possibly a little bit of risky strategy isn't the worst idea for Lord Vulture. He might want to take a little bit of a gamble, see if he can convert that position into a solid points haul. But it's going to be a long, long stint on these hard tyres to deal with.
So we're just kind of waiting now for Ferron to make it round to the back. He should do so in the next corner or so, and then the safety car will decide that it's coming into the pits this lap. The only person who isn't on the back of the train is the one goal, because he's a few laps down. He has placed himself in between Rekka and Fuki. Oh, I don't think the start for him is going to be very enjoyable. He's going to have to just sort of dive out of the way of basically everyone, and put himself even further behind. But Yeah, unfortunately, in these multiplayer races, you don't get the chance to let the car sort of unlap himself because there just isn't really time for that.
Yeah, that'd be far too difficult for Codemasters to deal with, quite frankly. Safety car will be in at the end of this lap, and once again, Burt Mylander now deciding to floor it and really get some heat into the tyres of that Mercedes before parking it in the pits. Messi leads the pack away, bunches them up a fair bit to give a little bit of space for the restart. Nat Track in P2 will be on medium tyres, so might try and make a jump here, but it is up to Messi as to when he wants to make the move. And it
Yeah, you
looks
can
like he
see.
might have committed to it quite early before the final chicane, and he's away. Nat Track's just managed to hold on 3/10, 4/10, and burning so much ERS here to try and make the move, but Messi has got a good run and might be able to hold it through turn one. We'll have to see. And it looks like the Wurtz Ferrari does hold on, and Ferran actually crashed on the final corner and is out of the session. We'll have to see if that will call out another safety car. I find it hard to believe they bring out another safety car this soon, but it's possible. It looks like it seems to be okay. And the one goal just in showing blue flags left and right, it looks like. Nat Track and
Uh,
Messi
well,
with a second gap already.
Well, one goal, I think, has actually got himself past Wrecker, and that kind of bunched him into Fuki and then into Lord Vulcan and the Velociraptor. And the one goal is actually pulling away from the people that he should be kind of letting past. So um, that means that Wrecker really is now under the pressure of quite a few drivers as the Velociraptor's gotten past the McLaren. Turkey has left the session.
Possibly just a
So,
unfortunate. Oh, Turkey's out of the race.
oh yeah, he was out of the race, of
Yeah, so
course. So
that's
probably not.
just moving on to possibly practicing for next week in Italy, which I'd like to mention is going to be a double home race for Massi because Massi is an Italian driving the Works Ferrari, so that'll definitely always be looking to make a very strong showing. Right now, similarly strong showing, 8/10 away from that track here, and one that's a bit of a penalty for ignoring blue flags here. Of course, if his pace really was faster than the cars behind, then he has a right to unlap himself, but the game doesn't seem convinced, and Rondell is now letting the pack pass 5 seconds for a blue flag infringement.
Yeah, I think if you're 1 second ahead of the car behind you, the blue flags will actually disappear. But I think getting out of that window, you've obviously got sort of 3 opportunities before the blue flags start to penalise you. And maybe he thought he could do it, and then it turned out that he actually couldn't. So a bit of a shame for him. But to be honest, it's hard to see his race going much worse than being already a lap down.
Yeah, I think it's one of those things where you have to try and make it work and hope that another safe car can let you reclaim that lap, but it was always going to be a long shot, and it seems like it's really not worked out, and he's now let the back of the pack pass, and this might be one where it's sort of just bringing it home in P16, maybe hoping there's a few more timers at the end of the race, or just parking it in the pits, and looking forward to next week, where hopefully the home race will bring a little bit more luck. As Massey
Yeah,
actually
so
sets a fastest lap on those hards, he's broken out side 1 second to Nat Track here, as DRS gets enabled, and it will be active from the second DRS straight of this lap.
yeah, what we're seeing at the moment is, unfortunately, is a little bit of a classic Spain. Actually, the Velociraptor has gotten past Wrecker there, just behind, dived up the inside of turn one, and has claimed that position. So he's made a couple of places so far. This time, last lap, he was overtaking Lord Volk exactly here. He's somehow gotten past Fuki, and he's also gotten past Wrecker. So he will be looking to challenge Gali ahead of him. Has got newer, harder tyres, so he will have that fresher rubber to put the moves on Gali ahead. But other than that, it's we've got another yellow
Oh,
flag, and that's one of the
that's Air
Renaults,
Jordan
and that's
who's
Ed Jordan.
gone wide coming through turn 9, found his way into the gravel trap. He managed to avoid the walls thankfully, but puts him right to the back of the safety car train, down to P13 now, which promotes Adiman in the racing point after crashing out at that very corner in qualifying. Now in the points and should be able to run to the end of the race on those tyres. That's a very popular one in chat right now. Adiman is in P10 and has DRS on Lord Water helmet aged. hard tyres, so possibly another competition on the way. Meanwhile, further ahead, Fuki 90 is actually
closing up.
right on Wrecker, has a little peek up the inside, but decides to hold the position through turns 1 and 2. Be looking to hold to the back of him, possibly set up a move through turn 9 if he can keep far on the track.
Well, that's twice now that I was going to exclaim as to how boring Spain can be when I was interrupted twice by really exciting things happening. So maybe I shouldn't make that point. The point I will make though is that Massey has opened up over a second's gap on NAC tracks, so 1.7. NAC on those medium tyres has opened up 2.5 seconds to Cooney behind. Andrew Orthodox is in DRS range of Cooney. But Gali behind is dropping quite far back, and the Velociraptor will be all over him coming round the next couple of corners. So we watch him, and you kind of just need to stay as close as you can through the chicane. Climbs a little bit all over them. I'm not sure that's going to help him.
Will have DRS. Anyone pits for a penalty for. I mean, it's quite difficult to avoid penalties here, especially through turns 1 and 2. It's very easy to deliver too much curb and pick up a warning. Velociraptor is not close enough to make a move. And Air Jordan is actually the one that gets past Hamlin after that earlier incident. So maybe I climb back into the point after a win last week, just trying to recover and get up from the count of 26 where he currently stands.
There's a couple of points there where I think the Velociraptor would have got at least a warning for cutting the track. He has got a penalty. I'm not sure by how much at the moment. But he will want to get past Gali just so that he can start to establish a bit of a gap to the car, so that that penalty isn't so relevant. And he does pick up another 3.
Oh dear, it looks like that was coming through that side of turn 9, so. But there we go. So yeah, turn 9, obviously easy to run wide. Managed to keep it on track, but, well, almost on track, it's not hitting the gravel, but still getting another slap on the wrist from the virtual race stewards. Maybe trying to stay close to Gali ahead, 6/10 back. Gali has a few laps older hard tyres, but he's getting good runs out the final corner, and it looks like Velociraptor cannot make a move here. The field stays as it is. Further back, Dodds might have a move on Lord Volt here. Man's already got past. Dodds almost close, but Lord Volt does have the assistance of DRS for now. So Dodds has to sit back in P11 for the time being. Almost a bit of a concertina going through turn 1 there.
Yeah, we're seeing here the battle of the old tyres. So Lord Volk on 18-lap old tyres, Stoggs on those 14-lap old hards. Just for reference, most people out there on about 7, 8, 9 lap old tyres. Gali and the one goal, the old one's out with 11 lap old hards. Lazo is pitted for mediums at some point there. Not entirely sure when that's happened, but he's quite far back. So potentially front wing damage.
I'd have to think so, possibly waiting for a safety car here. One thing I would like to mention is that NatTrack now has 10 lap old medium tyres. Do you think this is starting to reach a point where the hards are just straight up faster than the medium tyres due to the problems? As let me yellow flag the second sector there for a second. I'm not sure exactly what caused that, but do you think that NatTrack is starting to fall away, not by the...
Oh, Andrew Orthodox is going past Cooney. And, oh my, totally missed that.
Yeah, that caught me at that point. I was surprised. I was busy talking about NatTrack tyres, and he has to get a penalty on those mediums, or possibly not feeling great. But Andrew Orthodox now into a podium position. Of course, we have to expect Cooney would move back onto the podium once NatTrack pits. But for the time being, Andrew Orthodox occupying 3rd place in this race, and it's now a double points position for Racing Point.
Yeah, so yeah, sorry about that, because Andrew Orthodox really didn't have the pace to challenge Cooney, as Cooney's going to pick up a warning for that. And it looked like he was just coming past every lap and being half a second down, but he's obviously used quite a lot of overtake there to make the move on Cooney. Has pulled out already a DRS worth of gap. So definitely making the time up. We want to make a little bit more than that if he's able to claim the position over Cooney Skittles, but he's got fresh air now to do so. The gap from Knack Track to Cooney was 3 points. Oh, and
Andrew
Andrew
Orthodox.
Orthodox is disconnected.
Looks like he's back in, and for a second there, it was looking like Trinity might be able to take the position back for free, but for the time being, Andrew Orthodox holds that position. But that is a worrying sign for Racing Point there.
And that's a shame. I don't know if you saw it on your screen, but on mine, you could see the Racing Point car of Andrew just sort of jumping backwards. And on that straight, he did lose 6 tenths to the car in front, and that's helped Cooney Skittles get back into DRS range.
Absolutely, and the other Racing Point of Adiman is also under attack here from Stodds, who has gotten past Lord Gold on those older hard tyres. Adiman does have the fresh tyres out of anyone in this battle, but Stodds has a ton of pace after qualifying right at the front of the field, and might look to make move. Adiman's getting a penalty there, and it looks like Fuki has had a bit of an incident there going through turn 9. Adiman makes the move. Stodds tries to go for a bit of a dive, and it looks like he's managed to make it as well. Had to get past quickly to stay on the back of Adiman, and Fuki 90 has fallen back through the order to what places. That was a decisive move from Stodds there, having to really send it after seeing Adiman get past and knowing that he's got to stay on the back of the Racing Point while the tyre battle is still.
And that's just making a move on Gali here, going up the inside into turn 1, and he's got it done, and he's just been trying that one for quite a while. So I was flicking there between Cooney in front and the Velociraptor, because both of them looked like they were going to make moves on the guys ahead. Cooney not able to do it, but the Velociraptor was just opened up that DRS, activate the ERS, and all that power has clearly helped him out. So he's going to be trying to track down Cooney ahead, close up those 3.5 seconds, especially if Cooney is going to be battling with Andrew. They're going to help sort of slow each other down. Now he does have 6 seconds worth of penalties, so is it all for nothing? We'll have to wait and see.
Absolutely, there's a couple of nice battles forming here. We have the battle for this final podium position between Andrew Orthodox and Trinity Fiddles. So just put out a couple of little clusters, not a big DRS train as you might possibly expect at Spain, but a few pockets of battles that are just some cars that are struggling to make moves, as Nattrack does finally pull into the pits after 14 laps on those mediums. Could possibly looking at the soft here to end the race, and might try and climb through the field and claim a fastest lap if he can do that as well.
Yeah, it was in really good position, but it's just not the strategy call, really.
And it's on the mediums again, so not confident that the softs can make it these 9 laps to the end. I don't particularly blame him for that, but if that's the case, I think you'd want to be getting off those medium tyres a little bit earlier before they start to lose their pace and really spend the maximum amount of time on an optimal tyre, or to extend a couple more laps for the softs then.
Yeah, I think, well, the softs will last, and he definitely could have done a soft stint, but I think the medium tyres over about 8 laps are probably a bit quicker. Can't imagine there's too much in it, but especially towards the end, if he's caught up to anyone, he'll want to be able to overtake them on slightly fresher tyres.
And with that, Trinity Fiddles is once again in a podium position, but with 8 laps to go in this race, I'm sure he wants a little bit more than that. He can see the Racing Point ahead that was behind for a while, and probably thinking that he can get P2 if he can really make an attack. It's a couple of laps here. Mass has checked out, is now 7 seconds ahead of second place, and he's looking in a fairly strong position to win this race home. Those tyres can make it to the end, they really should. But we'll have to wait and see.
So Cooney Skittles essentially in the in second place at the moment, once all the penalties are taken care of. Velociraptor will.
And we had Air Jordan trying to move around Lord Volt, tapping the grass at turn 1 there, and Lord Volt reclaims the position, staying in the points just about. And of course, with it being for P10, this is a battle for that final points paying position, so I'm sure these cars will be fighting tooth and nail, because, you know, the difference between P11 and crashing out of the race is very small in terms of the scoreboard at the end of the day.
And just to bring it back to what I was saying, is the gap now between the first or from second down to fifth. Gali could be in with a podium here. So the Velociraptor is closing up to Cooney. Gali is using the DRS. It looks like he might have just fallen outside of DRS, but Gali is certainly trying to close himself up to the Velociraptor as well. He will obviously drop down and promote Gali up into fourth. It's just a case of how far will Andrew Orthodox jump down? Will he jump down far enough for Gali to actually make the best of quite a bad race for him? Started on pole position, could still be within for a podium here.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm sure with the penalties ahead, because Two Tails might be playing this track strategically, trying to avoid us. That is looks like that is the McLaren of Lord Volk having trouble with the first sector, possibly in a bit of a spin through turn two. Missing a fair 200 front win there, and Hamlin will float past as though Air Jordan is currently the one with a solid grasp on that final point of this race. But going back to that, Two Tails might be playing strategically and just not wanting to be aggressive and make a move, and knowing that he can stay within 3 seconds, he's got that position in the steward's room, and that lack of pressure could let the cars behind latch onto the field and really bring this race to a head at the end.
Yeah, I think if you're Cooney Skittles, you know that you're not going to catch Massey, and if you can just stay in these last 5 laps, and there's a safety car, and that's a full safety
Oh
car,
my! What's
and
caused that?
that is really going to hurt Andrew because he has got a 3-second penalty. I'm looking around the track map
It
and
looks
I'm
like
not
it might have been
seeing
a
it.
crash from Wandall coming through turn 8. I think there's a fair 200 front wing miss in there, so that might have been what the game called him. I mean, there's only 5 laps to go. At this point, penalties are going to be so crucial to it because anyone who, with a pack being that close and not much time to make a gap, if you have 3 seconds or even 6 seconds, you're going to be dropped back to possibly the back of the pack here.
Yeah, the only consolation for these guys is that Adiman, Stoggs both have 6-second penalties. Fuki, Air Jordan, that track, and Hamlin all have 3-second penalties. This will help Lazo out. He'll be promoted up quite a bit. I wonder if any of them are gonna think about pitting now,
It's
and
difficult
especially
to say.
if you've already got penalties, maybe.
Lord Vulcan and
'Cause
Lazo have decided to go for it, go onto the soft tyres. Hamlin has done the same. I think the cars in the front of the pack were already past the pit lane, and Massey
Massey's in.
has gone into the pits. Will there be enough of a gap to stay in the lead of this race if cars behind opt not to? It looks like Andrew Orthodox is going to stay out, and he's going to inherit P1 here by the look of things. He does have
And
penalties, but Kunisils doesn't. And so it's going to be very difficult for Massey. He's going to make sure that right as soon as the safety car comes in, he can attack on those soft tyres and get past the 5 cars that are now ahead of him. I'm not sure he had the gap there. That might not have been the best call. And it looks like actually the Wandall has hit the back of the safety car as he came round, not realizing the safety car wasn't moving, and is now out of the race. And that just brings the end a disaster of a race for the Wandall here.
yeah, definitely want to forget here. But as we watch at the front, so Cooney Skittles in second place now will essentially inherit the lead, assuming he doesn't get a penalty or make a mistake. We've got Gali who looking potentially to take second. I think Massey's made the wrong choice here. I think he was probably anticipating that some of the guys in front of him would well, or some of the guys that were behind him would pit as well for soft tyres. They've all decided that they're quite happy with their hard tyres. They're happy to stay out, and that is maybe cost him not only a race win but possibly also a podium. He's got to get past. He's got to get past Wrecker in order to get himself onto the podium, and that might not be that easy on the basis that they won't have DRS probably for the rest of the race, I would imagine.
Well, it's 2 laps after the safety car comes in, where you have DRS. If it comes in at the end of lap 30 here, then there'll be 1 lap where you have DRS, and that will only be on the second DRS straight, and then a tiny amount of it between the DRS activation and the line for the final lap. So it's going to be tricky. And Massey, you've seen he really does have the pace, and he is on brand new softs compared to very old hards with the tyres ahead, or the cars ahead, but 5 positions in 3 laps or possibly 2 laps. That's going to be difficult. And I think it might have been the move to, knowing how close down the pack behind was, and knowing that anyone who pit there would be taking a massive gamble, just holding the track position and hoping that you can bend on those tyres when the DRS is deactivated and hold on to the race win. Now he's got
Well,
a lot of work to do.
we've got everyone down from 10th to 13th has pitted for softs. Lamb Chop out on mediums, and Lazo behind him on soft tyres. As for the cars ahead, it's going to be really difficult not to just watch Massey for the rest of the race to see if he can pull off. If he can regain his lead and pull off an incredible fight back.
We have 12 of the 15 cars currently in the DRS train. Will the steward decide that is enough to bring the safety car in? It looks like the answer is no. It looks like we'll have 1 more lap under safety car, and so we'll have 2 laps to the end of this race with no DRS. And this is a very late call to bring it in now. And that is... I know that under the helmet and behind the halo of that Ferrari, Massey will be screaming right now, because this does not help out his race winning chances at all.
So he's got 2 laps and only 2 laps to make the move on 5 cars. He's definitely got the pace, and he's on by far the faster tyre and by far the fresher tyre. He also doesn't have to worry about anti-orthodox on the basis of penalties. He'll have to get past the Velociraptor anyway to be able to overtake Cooney for the lead. Yeah. Can it be done? Yes, probably. But I think he's made a lot more work for himself than I think was necessary.
Yeah, the only question I'm thinking is that if he had stayed out on the hards, do you see any cars behind pitting for fresh softs? I don't think anyone had a reasonable gap to do it. And if Andrew had pitted, you know Cooney would have stayed out and inherited the position. And at that point, Massey would have had the buffer behind on the hards. And it would someone else had been a much more impressive climb than this. I think it was a strategic error. And it's not a very easy track to overtake on, but with the freshness of those tyres, it might just be doable.
Unfortunately, with just how many safety cars we've had, it's just kind of meant that they haven't been able to establish the gaps that they've wanted to. So if they did want to pit onto slightly softer tyres, they would have been thrown way back into the midfield, and they'd have to overtake a lot more cars again, as
safety car
Massey
will be in this lap. That's just confirmation from the stewards. There will be 2 green flag laps at the end of this race. We'll have to see what these front cars can do with it.
So no DRS for Massey is what that is then. They will, I guess, have DRS on the very, very last lap, very last corner for the smallest straights.
No, it will be on the 3rd lap where that would be activated. There's absolutely nothing between now and the end of the race. And so he's got to do it all with the sheer power of that Ferrari engine. So he's got to hope it's a 2019 Ferrari engine here. Andrew Orthodox launches, has a little bit of a drift there through the final corner. Those tyres possibly a little bit cold. Massey's already up 1 position by a lot of things, and he's looking to get past Wrecker. He's able to make the decision to have the grip, surely. So if he just holds the inside line and doesn't get turned in on here, he's being cautious. He's got to be cautious, but he does make the move into P4, and this will be one to watch. He's now got Garley ahead, who has fallen
he just goes
back.
flying past him.
Oh my! Maybe these softs are really hard as quick as he thinks they are. He's already up into P3, P2 effective. Stodds is out of the session, having crashed. Futi 90 seems to be collected as well. But our focus right now is on Massey, who has a climb to make. Actually, only has one more car to get past, which is Cooney Stiddles on those 18-lap-old hard compound tyres. 6/10 up the road and falling rapidly. He sweeps through turn 9. He's going to have so much more to hold on to here. Can he make the down to 3/10? Not got very much ERS to work with. That's surprising considering that they were in the safety car for a long time.
Oh,
Hold
he's
on.
made a bit of a
Still
mistake
a bit
there,
of
but
wheel spin.
he'll have so much more grip around this corner here, and he'll be unbearably close to Cooney as they come around the last corner. Oh, he'd love to do it here, but he just kind of knows he's got to keep it all together. And look at that. Look how close he is to Cooney. And then he's used up all his ERS, which is why Cooney's gained such a large gap on him already.
Yeah,
So he won't be able to do it in this braking zone coming up.
that's the 1 lap limit you have to ERS. It's about, I think, 2 megajoules, which is about half capacity of your tank. You can't use more than that in 1 lap. It looks like in pushing to get past early on in the session, he's used that all up, and now he's got a fresh allotment of the 1 lap, but the actual capacity is so low. But two seals have gone a little bit wide. Matty might try and send it here.
Now.
He's not got the gap. He's got to slot it in behind. He might try and make the move into turn 10 here. You saw how much extra grip he had coming through the fast right-hander of turn 9. Holds a tight line. He's right on the gearbox of Mercedes. Got to be careful with dirty air here. Rounds the corner and
He'll have
still
DRS,
right on.
but Cooney uses
No,
up
he's
all
not
of his
got
overtake.
DRS. And he's
Oh,
not
no, he
got
won't.
any ERS.
Oh, he
He's
goes for it.
gone for a dive coming through turn 10. He's run wide. Can Cooney hold on position? Yes, he can. Cooney's held on. And with one set to choke, Cooney Steels is looking to inherit the race lead. But actually, Andrew Orthodox isn't that far from 3 sets now. Massey looking once again. Cooney left his might. Hold on. Come out the final 20. Got a good run here. Massey. Looks up the inside. Could be a drag race to the line.
Here,
but it looks like Cooney's got it. Andrew Orthodox crossed the line first. Cooney takes the win. Massey comes home in P2. Andrew Holmes to the podium with Garley, Wrecker, Lord Volt and Hamlin behind. Natrat added getting demoted a long way by penalties, now down to P10 behind Lazzo. And Air Jordan, Lamchop, Fuki 90 and the Velociraptor will round out the race. What an ending to that one. That was so tight.
Well, that was actually unbelievable to watch. So what happened towards the end of that race is that Massey just used up all of his ERS on the first lap to get past everyone. And that meant that Cooney actually saved up quite a lot. So when they came round that really fast right-hander, even though the Ferrari was right up there, right up behind him, Cooney still had enough ERS just to pull away, and he did so in the very final corner as well. And that's a little bit of brilliance of Cooney there, and that's allowed him to get the win from this race.
Absolutely. And I mean, we saw early on that restart that those soft tyres really were potent. And so the strategy call isn't immediately dismissible as a bad call, but it's not worked out for the Ferrari of Mass. His debut in Division 3 will be a podium. It will not be a race win. He slots home in P2 here after starting on the mediums. Podium, Cooney Shields, Massey and Andrew Orthodox with Garley, Wrecker, Lord Volt, Hamlin, Natrat, Lazzo and Adiman rounding out the points paying positions. And I mean, what an ending to that race. The late safety car bunching up the pack and giving us a very close battle to the finish line. That was truly impressive stuff.
Yeah, that was an absolutely fantastic race. We'll have to talk about driver of the day there. I find it really hard, just based on the last lap, not to give it to Cooney Skiddles for fighting off a guy who was on 2 seconds faster tyres that were fresher, and clearly demonstrated that he was a much faster driver.
Yeah, absolutely. I put up the poll during that safety car with a bit of spare downtime. Mistimed a little bit because it ended before the end of the race, and I was thinking that the chat was gonna make a bit of a fool of. They picked Cooney Shields as their driver of the day, but with the way Matty was flying on those tyres at the start of the restart, I thought he might come back and take the win by the end. But Cooney Shields held on, and actually, it's worth mentioning, Cooney Shields also with the medium qualifying strap, so won that race in a pretty pure battle with Massey there. Massey making a strategic, a slight misplay, going on to the softs with not enough time at the end of the race, and Cooney Shields held on. And I think, yeah, very good pick for driver of the day. Another one to mention, Lord Volk started in dead last, P19, and managed to avoid penalties and keep it clean, and moved up to P6 by the end of the race. Definitely a very strong performance there. Hamlin making a similar climb from P16 up to 7th, and Adiman got P18 up and claiming the final point from this race. That was an incredible battle at the end. That dived into turn 10. I didn't think that Massey had the run. It turns out he actually didn't have the run, but hoping that the freshness of those softs would be enough to make that move stick. It was incredible to see, at the very least.
Yeah, he definitely kind of heat of the moment kind of thing. He has actually messaged Cooney now, apologizing for that, citing that he wanted it so bad, and
Yeah,
we could tell. We
yeah,
certainly could tell by
and
the way
I
he was
mean,
driving.
they stayed clean at the end of the race, and they did come home 1-2 regardless. There's definitely not going to be too many hard feelings about that one, but definitely a late move, and we'll say a brave move from Massey there, trying to make that late tire switch work at the end of the race, and it was certainly entertaining through, especially that final half lap. Um, but I think that might round it out for what we have today. Of course, I don't want to hold you for too long because as we speak right now, the PC Division 5 race is live with Haringzord. So, I think what I'll have to do is I'll have to send you over there so you can continue watching this, quite frankly, excellent action around Spain. I wasn't expecting it to be so entertaining, but this region had some fantastic races, and hopefully the same will occur over Haringzord's channel. So, I encourage you all to hop into there, give the Division 5 drivers a good cheer, and we'll see you next week for Italy, the home race of Massey and Ferrari team. Good night.